Hello Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk Bounty video, and welcome to episode 80 of Ask Bossk Bounty. This is of course a weekly series where you ask me questions in the comment section below, and every week I do my very best to answer them for you. So if you do have a question for next week's episode, be sure to leave it in the comment section below, and hopefully next week you will be featured. If you do happen to enjoy the video, don't forget to drop a like down below. That really does help the video and the channel. Thank you to all of my subscribers that got me over the 16,000 mark. That's greatly appreciated, so thank you so much for that. And with all that being said, let's get straight on to the first question. Collector 1970 says, question for next week: what protective case do you recommend for the ARC Trooper 3-pack? Okay, so I've got the ARC Trooper 3-pack in front of you here. So basically, this is the same thing that I recommend for anything that's of particular value or rarity, or something that you want to definitely keep nice. I'd always recommend an acrylic case rather than some flimsy piece of plastic that if you dropped it, it would most definitely break. And here's an acrylic case for that. So if I just show you how this is going to go in, it's got these runners here and a little bit at the top for the top of the card to slide in. So let's just do this right now for you. So basically you run it along here like that. It goes in very nicely, gets to that top bit there, and that keeps it in place. And then it has a slide bottom, which I'll get right now, like so. And there we have it. And now it's going to get, you're going to get super reflections, so I'm not going to keep it in shot. But basically, an acrylic case, I get mine from GW Acrylics. They are based in the UK, but I do believe they do ship to America. And of course, we do have Gonk Toys. If you haven't checked out Gonk Toys, they are on Instagram. Check them out. I'm sure they've got a website as well, of course, if they're going to be selling their cases. But I see them on my Instagram feed all the time. They've got cases for all different kinds of things, like Black Series and things like that, specialist cases. So they're not cheap, but that is the best way I would suggest that you protect your most valuable items in your collection. Loza says, serious question: is Star Wars collecting a sickness for which there is no cure? And do you ever think, I've had enough of this, what am I doing? Thankfully, I don't ever think that. It's a hobby that I really love and enjoy. It's something that you can escape to. I come and sit in my collection room sometimes, and just to get away from everything else that's going on in the world, in your life and what have you. So it's a nice escape, I think. In terms of it being a sickness, no, I don't think it's a sickness really. I guess it can be addictive, very addictive in fact. So I guess if you've got an addictive personality, then you could possibly describe that as a sickness. But no, I think it's a good addictiveness, especially when the lines that you're collecting are numbered, like the Black Series and Vintage Collection. You know, it can be quite addictive to try and get them all. ILBFT man says, where is VC176 and VC188? Hasbro is overlooking Potsnetkin, Ishitib and Squid Head for the Vintage Collection line. A 3-pack. That'd be a pretty cool 3-pack. In terms of VC176 and 188, VC176 of course is the one that they accidentally missed when they did the 2 Walmart exclusives of the Incinerator Trooper and the Mando. I am sure they will revisit that at some time. They're not going to allow it to be just a gap. I think collectors will be up in arms about that. So at some point they will assign that number a new figure. I think some of the ones that have come out recently, these ones for example, which already had numbers in the VC190s, you know, those were probably already, the card arts were probably already done for those, so they can't go back and give them one of those numbers. So I expect that the figure that gets 176 will be something that's maybe coming out towards the end of the year or early next year. As for VC188, I've got a feeling that could be General Merrick, because he is packed in with the X-Wing, or it could be another sort of exclusive figure that's on his own, but we just don't know yet. Jeff Weiss, the King of California, says, question for next week: how do you feel about the return of the Mailaway campaign? And if so, who should we start off with? And always, may the force be with you, always. Yeah, the Mailaway campaigns, they were fun, weren't they? It'd be nice if they brought those back. And I think it has to be something that's quite sort of quirky. You know, we had the rocket firing Boba Fett, we had the George Lucas, and of course we did have the prototype. So they're not sort of your ordinary figures. I think if they were going to start those up again, they could give us something from like the Macquarie concepts. I think that would be quite nice. Like maybe a concept Hoth Trooper or something. I think that would be pretty cool. Or possibly even the figure that every single person wants out there, and that's of course the Rian Johnson in Stormtrooper outfit. So let's wait and see, eh? Matt Tribuani says, I was 19 in 93. The 90s rave scene was epic in the US too. Had some of the best times of my life. Yep, he's talking about something that happened on last week's episode about the 90s rave scene. Absolutely awesome, my friend. Question for next week: besides Star Wars and Action Force, do you collect any other figures or novelty figures? I have some Iron Maiden and Misfits figures. The artwork on the cards is beautiful. Yeah, so the Iron Maiden ones, are they reaction by Super 7? Because I love the Super 7 figures. I've got a couple of them myself. And the ones I'm really looking out for, which have just been announced, are the Run DMC figures. They look fantastic. I'd love to get my hands on those. But yeah, reaction figures, I collect those. And at some point, I'm looking to start a collection of vintage mask. I'm happy for loose. I don't really want them boxed or carded necessarily. I just love the look of the toys. I had a couple of them when I was little, but yeah, they're Kenner toys and I just think they're fantastic. Maxine says, question for next week. If you could have your own likeness made into a custom head to put on an existing vintage collection figure body, which figure's body would you choose? That's an easy one for me. It would have to be the Stormtrooper. I think every kid that watched Star Wars originally and saw Han Solo and Luke Skywalker dressed in the Stormtrooper outfit would love it if that was them. So yeah, if there was a head sculpt of my head sculpt made on a vintage collection figure, it'd have to be a Stormtrooper. Dan Von Carr says, question for next week. What's your favourite bad vintage collection figure? That figure everyone hates, but you have a soft spot for. This was really difficult trying to pick one out. So I've gone for this Rey figure. So I actually think that this Rey is a fantastic figure. Now, some people may not like her because of the character and it's the sequel trilogy, and some people don't like that. Other people might just not like the figure, but I love this figure. I think it's got lots of detail. I was glad they brought it out. Loads of accessories, and also if you've got the Luke Skywalker X-Wing pilot, the helmet fits on to her, even with the braids in her hair. So awesome looking figure, and I understand a lot of people don't like that one, or at least I think they don't, so that's what I've picked. A couple of questions about the next Haslab here. We've got Landon Scott says, what do you think Hasbro will do for the next Haslab project? Bad Batch Shuttle, Ghost, Death Star, etc. And which one do you want or hope does happen? So I'm not too sure if it'd be any of those. It may be, the next Haslab project for Star Wars may or not even be vintage collection. It might be the Black Series, for example. But let's just say it will be the vintage collection. There's quite a few that I think would look fantastic. A new Sandcrawler would be awesome. Some kind of Cantina, or just the Cantina aliens, like releasing maybe 12 Cantina aliens. We've got a few examples here of some of the better ones. There's lots that they still need to do in terms of like modern representations of them. We've got some from previous lines like the Saga collection and the Trilogy collection and things like that, but they could update those figures and give them in this standard. Bom Vindum, amazing figure. If they could do all the Cantina aliens of that standard, it would be fantastic. So that would probably be my choice. And GA says, hi Bossk Bounty, amazing content continues. Thanks for all you do. Thank you very much for watching, GA. Question for next week. Which would be your preferred Haslab? Chalmun's Cantina with stretch goals for the Tonnika Sisters, Boshek and Wuha. A big Sandcrawler with stretch goals for Soft Goods, Jawa, Uncle Owen, R1G4. Or the Death Star 2 playset with stretch goals for Simalu, Moff Jerajod, Power of the Force style Death Star Gunner. Thanks again, man. Cool, that's a tough decision, but then again, I think I'd just have to go with the Cantina. As I said before, the aliens, I think there's so many that they need to give us. And when you look at the other ones that you've mentioned there, the big Sandcrawler, some of the droids, we've already got the best versions that you're going to get of those. Of course, we could do with an Uncle Owen and a Soft Goods Jawa, but I don't think those figures are outside of the realms of possibility of just giving us those figures anyway. Same goes for the Death Star 2. Simalu's got to come at some point in the original 96. As does the Death Star Gunner. But when it comes to the Cantina, a lot of those Cantina aliens were never in the vintage 96 line. So it's just a case of how are we going to get those figures? How are Hasbro going to do that? And I think it would have to be a Haslab style thing where they, as I mentioned, they give us 12 maybe figures of awesome quality, of this quality for the Cantina. Django Unbrain says, question for next week. With the focus on Hasbro trying to complete the 96, do you think they'll focus on repacking some of the ones we got previously in the Vintage Collection 1.0? For example, Walrus Man, Cloud Car, Pilot, etc. I don't think they'll concentrate on that necessarily. I mean, obviously we've got Walrus Man, Ponda Barber there. But, they've already been released. So those ones, if they will re-release them, they will be in those like specialty waves that we've seen them do previously. And I can't see them just giving us a bunch of 96 characters because they're the final 96. I think the whole complete the 96 thing is them trying to give us ones that we've never had in the Vintage Collection so far, like the ATST driver, for example, the Death Star droid, which is coming up, things like that. this sort of thing, if they ever do re-release it, it will be in one of those specialty waves. Munchlot221 says, question for next week, is it possible that we will get Iden Versio in the Vintage Collection line since the heavy battle droid was given a chance to be in it? Yep, so there's the heavy battle droid there with two of the other Gaming Greats figures that we recently got. I've reviewed all of those on my channel, and these two my son put in some pretty awesome poses for me. He is very good at posing the figures, much better than me. So if you haven't checked out those videos, they're all on the channel. But yeah, Iden Versio, again, that is very much like Cal Kestis. If they do those, they will be in the main line rather than the Gaming Greats. But of course, just the very fact that these exist, I think increases the chances, you know. So if these sell really well, then it will show Hasbro that we like the gaming figures, and they'll be more confident to give us an Iden Versio or a Cal Kestis in the main line. Shizoom says, hi Bossk, finally made the big commitment of buying an Ewok village. What figure should I use on it? I already have some vintage Ewoks, but I am planning a mostly modern display with Ewoks as exceptions. So yeah, that sounds really cool. I mean, I love the Ewok village, the vintage Kenner one, and of course, yeah, you could populate it with all modern Ewoks and it'd still look awesome. What I advise you do is go to the website JediBusiness.com and search for Ewoks, and there you'll find all of the modern Ewoks that have been released. Going back to the Power of the Jedi line, I think there was a Tebow in there. But most of the good ones are from the 30th anniversary and the Legacy collection, and of course the Vintage collection. But yeah, check that out. Search for Ewoks on JediBusiness.com and it will tell you all the Ewoks that have ever been released that you need for your village. The Darth Eddie says, if they release VC107 Weequay, would you care if they paint the ankle joints and other mismatched joints the correct colours to match the trousers and shoes, or would it not matter? At this point, just getting that figure on the market and into stores would be enough of a collecting triumph that any minor flaws the 2012 release had can likely be overlooked. I think it is important, and you know, if we look at Zutton, for example, this one here does not have the, so he has the red in between the two pieces of his trousers for the joint, which did annoy me, I've got to say. I thought they would have corrected something like that, but the good news is that they have. So this must have been one of the first releases where they didn't have it, but people have seen one showing up with it painted brown to match his trousers. So they can do it and they should do it, and I think it's important. Two questions here about VC200. First one's from Purple Yoda. Congrats on the 16k. Can you see Hasbro making a big deal in terms of a significant character regarding the release of VC200? And if so, what would be your choice? And Stephen Angel says, I was going to say congratulations on the 16k, but you're already at 16.1. Well deserved, Bosskman. My Q&A question is, do you still think they're going to do a special figure for VC200? It seems like with all the announcements, sure, one of them is going to be 200, right? Or do you think they've kept it under wraps, that it's going to be something epic? I feel like if it was something legit, they would have shown it off on May the 4th. Yeah, I think when it comes to VC200, I think we're quite sort of romantic about it in terms of the vintage collection, whereas I think Hasbro maybe don't really care. I remember being on the Hasbro Q&A and somebody actually asked what the number for General Merrick was going to be, the one that's going to be packed in the X-Wing, and Patrick kind of joked that, you know, he said something like, I'm sure it'll be a good number, as if to sort of say that we worry about these sorts of things and maybe Hasbro really don't. And of course it is a bit of a landmark for the line, VC200, 200 figures, like carded figures in the line. You would think, you would hope, wouldn't you, that it would be like a really cool figure like a Farm Boy Luke or the Emperor maybe. I don't know, but I'm not so sure that really Hasbro sort of care about it as much as we do, or are as romantic about the line as we are in that sort of terms. I think they just make the figures, stick them on the cards and get them out, but who knows, man. We'll have to just wait and see. Alright then guys, that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. Just a quick note to say about this spider. I do apologise to my US friends. This was only available in the UK online at Shop Disney. If you're in the US, you have to go to one of the Disney parks or one of the Disney stores to get it. So I do apologise about that. Over here online, we can get it. So when I said, you know, it's online Shop Disney, I do apologise if you went looking and you couldn't find it, but that is the reason. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and we shall see you on the next one.